Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny Kaisela. I'm the Family Education Coordinator here at California School for the Deaf Riverside. I am thrilled to have this special Saturday morning event instead of our regular Friday morning. So instead today we're going to do it on a Saturday. That way everyone has some time to really enjoy the video clip with their families and enjoy it together as a family. We have three special guests today. So one of them is a storyteller, and then your child can join in during the break, and the other two are presentations. The first presentation is in regards to literacy. Truly, we need to embrace literacy within all of our homes and within our school environment. At that point, we can build that collaboration to our children for future readers. Dr. Nancy Hlibok-Amann, our school superintendent, will be presenting on literacy, which is absolutely her favorite subject. And then our second presentation is our storyteller by a CSDR alumni, Tommy Korn. And then our third presentation is Dr. Carla Garcia-Fernandez. So I'm thrilled to have her as our guest speaker this month to present in regards to family engagement and family involvement and how important that is. We love and cherish all of our family members. We want you to be a part of our community and have that collaboration. Enjoy your morning. Thank you so much.
Hi, Nancy Hlibok-Amann, School Site Superintendent at California School for the Deaf Riverside. Hello and welcome to this webinar where we are talking about literacy. When you think about the word literacy, I'm sure immediately we all think of reading and writing. Those two are the ones that immediately come to mind. And then, as you observe the world around you, day in and day out, those two words, to simplify it to those two words, seems like it's not enough because truly that word is so multifaceted. I can say this because I actually studied biliteracy in reading as my PhD studies back in 2000. That word literacy was one that everyone was talking about in one or two different ways. However, now it has exploded to the point where we're looking at 50 different types of literacy, believe it or not. So I would like to present 5 different types of literacy today. And I've selected these 5 because I find that they are very important as it applies to your own children and their acquisition of language and learning. How they are socializing and communicating with others, and as parents or caregivers, parents, caregivers, grandparents, family members, friends, aunts and uncles, cousins, neighbors alike, as you observe and interact with deaf children. Deaf children, that term, when I say deaf, I'm talking about our deaf and hard of hearing students. They need full access. And not just full access to sound or even sign, but I'm speaking of more than that, outside of that. So let me speak about these 5. The first literacy is digital literacy. Well, what does that entail? We have cognition, cognitive skills that are used when dealing with our devices. You can see infants, sometimes the parents outside with their stroller, walking their infant. The infant may be 1, maybe even 2 years old, and they already are playing with these devices. And it's really wonderful to observe that. Technology is readily out there. Parents have access to that, And sometimes it's utilized to keep a child busy for 5-10 minutes. Same idea applies to providing TV to your children. Quite some time ago, the handling of books, the encouragement of reading books was strongly encouraged. Now, ebooks, using your Kindle to access these readings. There's been such a shift. It's pretty remarkable. The world is full of possibilities in terms of how you can absorb new information. So when you have a child handling a book and or a device, observe what they're doing. Observe their tendencies. For instance, if you saw somebody holding a book, right, upside down, you would know that that is not the appropriate way to hold a book. Children can mimic that. They're seeing how the adults and older ones around them are holding their device. So we know that our devices are not held upside down, and a child will figure that out. They will navigate that on their own. And that requires processing, cognition, making sense out of devices. So that digital literacy is critical. That would be the first. Second literacy is media literacy. Media literacy covers the idea of when you are watching a movie, a TV show, a cartoon. If you are watching this program, having that understanding of what's happening behind the scene, right? Really becoming analytical as you're watching this program. So we're all familiar with Tom and Jerry. You really did not need captions to understand what was occurring in an episode. And if you asked a child, hey, what did they talk about here? They could tell you a very good story as to what they took in. There are endless media opportunities, and I encourage parents to make that connection with their own children through various forms of media. One idea would be to just sit and watch that program together. You don't even have to say anything. And maybe from time to time, look at your child, right? See how they're engaging with what they are watching. Make sure captions are always on. I know there are some shows that don't have captioning available, and that's okay. Some are designed in a way that captioning may not be necessary. But bear in mind that these children are paying attention. And then have a conversation based on what you just watched, whether it be movies, something you saw on the iPad. Again, the options are endless. So media literacy, we cover digital, media. Third type of literacy, visual literacy. Oh goodness, is this important? So important. So, you're driving, and maybe you hit some traffic. You're at a red light. You're waiting for it to turn green. And to your right, you might see a shopping plaza. So, of course, within a plaza, there are various stores. Your child in the car seat behind you, they're not missing that opportunity. They're absorbing all of this information. They are seeing symbols, signs, and they're thinking about that information. And then if you turn around and tell your child, hey, that's the maybe Baskin Robbins, right? They've got their own Baskin Robbins logo. I think it's purple, maybe pink, purple. Maybe it's blue, actually. So the B and the R, right, with their design, their particular coloring, that child remembers that. And they're going to make that connection with those in the vehicle that tells them, hey, this is Baskin Robbins. Another pretty popular one would be McDonald's. I know it's not as popular as they once were, but McDonald's is everywhere. The golden arches are everywhere. And that has been a steadfast symbol for McDonald's. You know, with McDonald's, you're going to get hamburgers and french fries. And with children, they are paying attention to these details. They're paying attention to the design details. And it's very interesting. Research has shown as a child ages, they can recall back to when they were 2 or 3 years old. They may not be able to put words to it always, but they can remember what it looked like. So appearance is very important. They're like sponges, right? And hold on to that moment, to that opportunity. Seize that moment with your child. Truly captivate on that opportunity to tell them, to unpack what they're seeing. It may seem so trivial, but it means so much to the children and their acquisition. Fourth one, cultural literacy. And this is an area that's been lacking. I've seen that we are talking about it more and more now, but it is very important for our children. So very important. So when I speak to cultural literacy, every home has their own story to share. Their family unit has their own stories, their own exchanges. Some families have a couple moms, a couple dads, grandparents, etc. Regardless how they live and interact with one another, the parents or caregivers might both go to work. They might work that graveyard shift. Maybe they own a business. Some of them could be working from home. You may have a side business that's present in the home. Another one might call for a parent or caregiver to travel for work, and you may not see that caregiver for a few days at a time. Maybe they're a firefighter or a truck driver, and they just don't have that typical 9 to 5 job. But it's important that the child is observing this. And when they go to school, there's that cultural understanding. All right, we have individuals that work 9 to 5. Everybody works 9 to 5. That causes confusion for a child. That's weird. My mom doesn't work 9 to 5. She's actually home right now. And when I get home, I have a babysitter as my parent heads to work. And then we may respond to that as, oh, well, that is unusual. And that's simply wrong. There are so many misconceptions out there, and the children take that on. So in lieu of that moment of critiquing, what's probably best is for us to take a look at our cultural ways, the way that we address things, have conversations about that so that the child can see that information, take in that information, and feel validated about their own experiences that they're having at home. That love and support is there, and that there are really no expectations when it comes to lifestyles and how we truly navigate a variety of things on a day-to-day basis. And those all have to be valued. So I'd like to talk briefly here about a professor from the University of Arizona. His name is Dr. Mao. And he decided to research this whole idea of funds of knowledge, coined by him. Funds of knowledge speaks to the knowledge that we have gained from our upbringing, family gatherings, moments with friends, vacations and trips, experiences with work, day, night, weekends, your weekend lake experiences, fishing, riding a bicycle. I mean, all levels of activities. Projects that are done throughout the house with parents, maybe gardening, getting your children engaged. That builds this child's funds of knowledge. And then they attend school at age 5 or 6 years old. And the school is responsible for welcoming this child's funds of knowledge. And that becomes part of the wider school community. It brings the joy of diverse experiences. So it's an imperfect curriculum where these children feel that their experiences are valued at school. And every individual needs to be recognized, acknowledged, and respected. Literacy is so important. The parent should have the right and feel proud of their community, knowing that it is so strong in terms of its foundation and should truly be valued. So again, that funds of knowledge as it relates to cultural literacy. Now, fifth type of literacy. And let me tell you, there's no prioritization here. They're all equally important. And you can vacillate between the five. The fifth one is informational literacy. The ability to evaluate and identify types of information and looking at that information critically. Critical thinking. It requires a deeper understanding of how we encourage children to become inquisitive, curious about the world around them, asking those questions. Encourage your child to ask any and all questions. There are no silly questions, right? They're all welcomed. And if a child says, hey, what is that? Or, hey, I saw this over there. Why did you do that? That develops a stronger relationship between adults and deaf children. Share with them. They are starving for information. You could be talking about objects. Maybe it's a personal story that you're telling them about. Maybe you're reading to them, engaging in activities such as cooking or painting, maybe even playing a sport, getting on a bicycle, playing basketball, getting in the pool, going for a swim. When that child is learning with you, and let me tell you, it requires a lot of patience from adults. Often we forget that this child is asking for a reason. And we may tell them, oh, we're busy right now. Hold on one second. And after some time, they will feel that they're not as important and they may start to mitigate that questioning. So it's important that we engage and that we respond to those questions. So literacy, again, yes, reading and writing for sure. But in order to reach that point of literacy, that base of knowledge needs to be strong. And that comes from those 5 types of literacy. Embrace every area. Give them everything. Give them all of everything. Give them all this information that you have to share. Never minimize a child's ability to take on information. They can handle a lot. And they'll filter out the information that they don't find necessary to keep. That'll happen organically. Or sometimes it won't stick. It's not as important to them. And then you may find yourself at other times where they're incredibly engaged. It's important that we see our children happy and content with the information that they receive every day. I can't stress this enough. Truly, it's really important that you value your relationship with your child, that they have that level of confidence for when they do begin reading or writing or illustrating, whatever the case may be. Before you know it, the world is just so vast for that child, and they just dive right in. I look forward to meeting your children at the school at some point and seeing them fall in love with literacy, with reading. When your child reads, the opportunities are endless. They are endless for this child. If you'd like to know any more, if you're curious about anything, feel free to reach out to me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tommy Korn. Are you ready to hear a story? Now, this book is titled Mixed. This story is very colorful. It was written and illustrated by Ari Chung. Are you ready to hear the story? In the beginning, there were only 3 colors. Now, those colors were reds, yellows, and blues. Just those 3 colors. The reds, they were the loudest. They stomped and shook everywhere, had music and parties all over the place. The yellows were the brightest, just shined like the sun. At school and at work, they did very well. The blues tend to be the coolest, dressed so fashionable, drove nice cars, just really chill and laid back. Now, all 3 of those colors lived in harmony until one afternoon, a red said, "What's going on over there?" This red was standing on a podium, screaming out, telling the world that the reds are the best. The yellows absolutely disagreed. They stood up and said, no, we're the best because we are the brightest. And the reds, were aghast. The blues, they were too cool to even respond and engage. The reds were disappointed the blues wouldn't engage. Now, in the city, all the traffic and the buildings caused little cliques and division. We had Redville. They had all of these spiral towers that you could not even get into. Bluetown decided that they were going to have their own space right in between. The yellows, they decided to have their own gates to block everyone else out. So we had our different cliques of the reds, the blues, and the yellows. All kinds of division happening. Now, as time progressed, a yellow was riding by on a scooter and noticing a blue sitting there crying. And something happened. The yellow sat down next to the blue. And the blue said, "Wow, I feel happy that you're sitting here next to me." The yellow said, "Now that I sat down, I feel very chill and very settled." The yellow and the blue became inseparable. There's no way these two could ever be parted. Their life felt so vibrant. Just like you can see in the picture here, the yellow and the blue, their lights shine. Now, the other colors, the reds and the blues and the yellows, They were not happy about it. The red said, "Oh, those colors should not even exist." The blue said, "Oh, I don't like that effect that yellow is having on the blue." "They are not equal at all," is what the yellow had said. The yellow and the blue didn't pay them any mind. They fell in love and they loved each other so very much, and they decided to get married. Oh, there comes the mix. Now, what happened next? Together, they created a brand new color, and they named that color green. Now, green was bright, just like the yellow, and also very calm and chill, like blue. But the green had its own color of its own, just like the plants. You can see the green plants, the green grass. There's green everywhere. So reds, yellows, and blues, they all looked at this green baby and were fascinated and just took a moment to think. The yellow said, "Oh, I have never seen anything like her before." Oh, the red said, "Oh, but she's so cuter." All the grumpy colors fell in love with green. Now these colors, they began to see these new possibilities. It really opened their eyes to things that were available to them. Now soon other colors mixed. Red and yellow, see right here, they had a baby, an orange baby, super cute. Blue and red, they had twins, purple, one darker and one lighter. So more and more of these colors mixed. We had a variety of different color babies being born. So we had green and orange, and see their colors, purple and orange, all of these different colors, and they're all mixed. Such a variety, such diversity. It's beautiful. Now there's so many new colors. Oh, they all had to have new names. Of the parents, they said, "Hey, Jade, be careful. Don't forget your glasses, Lavender. Amber, have fun." These kids were so colorful and played together. Now remember, years ago, the city was separated into 3 areas. Now, those walls and all of those bars were taken down. All of that structure that caused those groups to separate were taken down. So they have a new town because those separate groups just didn't make sense anymore. Now they have a new town where they all live together in harmony. Ah, what a beautiful thing. Now this new town, oh, it's so full of color. You see yellows. It wasn't just yellow, blue, and red. You had such a variety of different colors. Granted, it was not perfect, but it definitely felt like home. Now you can see all the different colors here. That's just like our human beings. Everyone here in the community, everyone is different. Mixed all together, we become very colorful and we live more vibrantly and you enjoy your life. The end. Thank you for watching.
Hello, I'm Dr. Carla Garcia-Fernandez. I would love to meet all of you families in person. Maybe next time. I'm here to discuss how schools and families, their partnership can help deaf children succeed in life. Before I delve into that topic, I'd like to give you a brief description of my background. I was born and raised in New Mexico. to hearing parents. I was diagnosed as deaf at 5 months old. My parents quickly surmised that I was deaf because they had an older son who was also deaf. My older brother and I are the only deaf children. The other 6 of my brothers and sisters are hearing. My brothers and sisters can all sign, but at different levels of fluency. My mother signs well. My father mostly uses gestures. I went to New Mexico School for the Deaf and attended that school my whole childhood. After I completed my schooling at New Mexico School for the Deaf, I reflected on my time there. I realized that my parents really played a large role in my academic success. My parents never gave up. They always pushed me, making sure I progressed and did well. They had high expectations for me. I remember some conflicts at the school, such as in meetings, and my parents always made sure that I had the opportunity to share my perspective. I'm grateful to my parents for that. My parents were always open to learn, to understand how I could learn and succeed. My parents also attended my sports events and other events that I was involved in. My parents knew many of the teachers and dorm supervisors at New Mexico School for the Deaf. After I graduated from New Mexico School for the Deaf, I entered Gallaudet University. That's where I received my BA degree in child development. After that, I worked, and then I pursued my master's degree at the University of Arizona in bilingual and multicultural education. After graduating, I continued to work. However, I went back to school again at the University of Texas for my PhD in cultural studies in education. I now work at California State University, Northridge. I teach deaf studies there. I would like to talk with you all, families, caretakers, or guardians. You are often the deaf child's first and most important teacher. Perhaps for some deaf children, it's different. But the absolute most important thing is communication, access to communication. My own mother signed, and I was able to converse and communicate with her, to have in-depth discussions. With my father, it was more superficial. I really encourage fathers to sign. In scholarly circles, research has shown that the concept of funds of knowledge is incredibly important. So what is funds of knowledge? It refers to families, their life experience, work experience, resources, and the communities that the families belong to. All of that. Schools can consider all the families bring. And if teachers truly become learners, they will learn from families. the resources that are out there and available in the home of the deaf child. Teachers can gather that knowledge from families and apply it, use it in the classroom. And deaf children can learn better. Pick things up, make cultural connections, make connections to language use. It's important that families offer the opportunity for teachers to learn from them. Families can play a big role in the school as well. That's what my parents did. I would like to talk a bit about the importance of recognizing that the deaf child is not only deaf. Children have multiple identities. All of those identities make up who they are as a person. My parents did not have the opportunity to discuss multiple identities. That was one piece that was lacking. I think it's critical to encourage you to talk to your child in order to recognize and value their multiple identities. For example, I'm not just deaf. I am a deaf Latina woman. All of that information I learned, such as what it's like to be a woman, how I can defend myself, specific women's issues, a number of different things. Being Latinx, the history, the people, the heritage, cultural values, those things I should know. All that comes with being Latinx, all that comes with being a woman, and all that comes from deaf culture. Those pieces come together as a whole. They make up who I am as a whole person. In the same way, in your families, you can have those discussions with your deaf child. Give them that knowledge so they can learn. But in order to do that, you must make sure that access to communication is happening. So now with you all, I've mentioned multiple identities. But some identities attract stereotypes, such as deaf. There is often the stereotype that deaf people can't succeed in life. Deaf people are looked down upon or seen in a host of negative ways. It's similar to how women are often oppressed and perceived negatively in general. The case is the same for Latinx people in all three of those identities. We can make sure that we reject stigma, the negative beliefs that society holds for certain groups. If we commit to pushing back, our deaf children will succeed and move ahead in life. They can stand proud in the knowledge of who they are. There are many things that families can do. Inform yourselves. Learn. Take classes. Attend different events. Continue to learn. Because often we have misconceptions. The goal is to eliminate those. Have a positive view of being deaf, a positive one. Being a woman is a positive thing. Being Latinx is a positive thing. That plays an enormous role in identity development. Considering communities, we must engage with our communities, become familiar with them, and be of service to them. Give back. Our deaf children need to see that. At the same time, we ourselves learn from that process. Our multiple identities are not superficial. Are we just celebrating Women's History Month? Celebrating Latinx Heritage Month? Just celebrating Deaf Awareness Week or Deaf Awareness Month? Limiting ourselves to that is very superficial. We are something every day. We need to make sure that happens because our deaf children with multiple identities need to see that. to feel that who they are is okay, to feel proud in order to progress and be successful. Thank you.